Let's talk about a specific kind of tired. It's not the weariness of the body after a long day. It's not the fatigue that sleep can cure. It is the exhaustion that seeps deeper into the very marrow of your being.
It is the exhaustion of the soul, the crushing weight of a lifetime spent performing, the chronic fatigue of always having to be pleasant, agreeable, and accommodating, of swallowing your truth to make someone else comfortable, of shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold the vastness of who you are. It is the exhaustion of being the good girl.
If you know this exhaustion, understand that it is not a personal failure. It is a cultural and psychological inheritance, a symptom of a deep wound from the inner child. And the healing, the true liberation, begins when we finally give this wound its proper name, the curse of the good girl. Today we will not only name it, we will dissect it, understand its roots, see its devastating effects on our adult lives, and discover the first crucial steps toward breaking its spell, guided by the profound wisdom of Carl Jung. To understand the curse, we must first turn to a core concept from Carl Jung, the persona. The persona is the social mask we present to the world. Jung named it after the masks worn by actors in ancient Greek theater. It is not inherently bad, it is a necessary tool for social survival, a way to navigate the complexities of family, school, and work. But for many women, the creation of this mask is not a conscious choice. It is a condition for love. From our earliest days, we are detectives of connection. As a little girl, you became an expert at reading the micro-expressions on your parents' faces. You learned, with astonishing precision, which behaviors elicited a smile, a hug, a word of praise, and which elicited a frown, a sigh of disappointment, or worse, withdrawal.
You learn that your agreeable nature is celebrated, while your strong will is labeled difficult. Your empathy is a virtue, but your anger is unladylike. Your desire to help is praised, but your own needs are an inconvenience. And so, you begin the careful, heart-breaking process of amputation. You cut off the parts of you that are deemed too much, and you amplify the parts that guarantee acceptance.
This process is what Jungian psychology calls adaptation. The child adapts to her environment to secure the attachment she desperately needs for survival. She builds her persona brick by brick from the expectations of others. The good girl persona is often a masterpiece of social engineering. She is kind, selfless, considerate, and responsible. She is a golden cage, beautifully crafted and socially rewarded, but a cage nonetheless. The problem arises when this survival mechanism doesn't fade with childhood. It solidifies, it becomes so tightly fused to your identity that you forget it's even a mask. The voice of your parents, your teachers, your culture becomes the voice of your own inner critic. You mistake the performance for who you really are. This is the tragic foundation of the curse.
The bars of the cage are invisible, but you feel them. You feel them in the tightness in your chest when you want to speak up. You feel them in the lump in your throat when you need to say no. You don't just wear the mask anymore. The mask starts to wear you.
This fusion of the persona with the self doesn't happen in a vacuum. It is often a direct, intelligent response to the psychological environment created by our parents. Jung called these powerful, unconscious influences parental complexes. Let's explore two of the most common ones that forge the good girl. First, the father complex. If a young girl has a father who is critical, emotionally distant, demanding, or a high achiever himself, she quickly learns that his love and attention are conditional upon her performance. Her worth is tied to her achievements.
And so you spend your life on a stage, performing for an audience of one long after he has left the theater. Every promotion, every success, every perfect presentation is a silent plea. Do you see me now? Am I worthy of your love now? You become driven by a relentless need to prove yourself, not for your own fulfillment, but to finally earn the approval of a ghost.
Alternatively, there is the mother complex. A daughter with a mother who is perhaps narcissistic, overly controlling, or who lives vicariously through her child, learns a different lesson. She learns that her role is to be an extension of her mother, a perfect mirror reflecting her mother's own needs and unfulfilled dreams. Her own desires are seen as a betrayal.
You learn to read her moods like the weather. You become a perfect empath, not out of pure compassion, but as a survival tactic. Your own reflection begins to disappear, replaced by her expectations. You don't know where she ends and you begin.
In adulthood, this fusion of self and persona manifests in painful, repeating patterns that poison our potential for happiness and authentic connection. The first and most common symptom is a chronic and debilitating difficulty in setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. A boundary is, in essence, the simple recognition of where you end and another person begins. For the good girl, this line is blurred to the point of non-existence.
It's that yes that escapes your lips while your soul is screaming no. It's the guilt, a hot wave of shame that consumes you afterwards for betraying yourself one more time. You become a sanctuary for everyone else's problems, a dumping ground for their emotions, but a barren wasteland for your own needs. You feel responsible for the happiness of everyone around you, a burden no single soul was ever meant to carry.
This leads directly to the second symptom, a relentless, insatiable search for external validation. When your own inner compass of self-worth has been broken, you are forced to navigate by the stars of other people's opinions. Your sense of self becomes entirely dependent on the approval of your partner, your boss, your friends, even strangers on the internet.
It's the constant, obsessive checking of your phone for that reply, the rereading of a single text message, analyzing every word, every nuance for a clue about how you are perceived. It's the hollow, empty feeling when the praise doesn't come. Because if they don't see your worth, how can you possibly see it in yourself? It is a hunger that can never be filled, because you are trying to fill an inner void with an outer substance.
And the third deeply ingrained symptom is a paralyzing fear of conflict. The good girl learned early on that disagreement leads to disapproval, and disapproval feels like a threat to survival. As an adult, this translates into avoiding any form of confrontation at all costs, even when it is necessary for your own well-being.
It's the art of becoming invisible in an argument, the skill of contorting your own opinion to match another's, the practice of silencing your own perspective to maintain a false peace. You become a ghost in your own life, haunting the edges of your own desires, terrified of making a sound, terrified of being seen as difficult, demanding, or too much.
A fourth symptom, born from this fear of making the wrong move, is a crippling analysis paralysis. Because the good girl never learned to trust her own inner compass, she becomes incapable of making decisions without an overwhelming amount of external reassurance.
It's standing in front of your own life, frozen, paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. Mistake according to whom? You no longer know. The chorus of other people's opinions has drowned out the whisper of your own intuition. So you do nothing. You choose to remain in the painful familiar rather than risk the uncertainty of your own choice.
And this brings us to the most profound cost of the good girl curse. What happens to all the parts of you that are not allowed to be? The healthy anger, the righteous indignation, the ambition, the selfish desires, the raw, untamed power? Carl Jung gives us a chillingly accurate answer. They are not destroyed, they are repressed. They are pushed down into the dark, fertile soil of the unconscious and form what he called the shadow. The shadow is the hidden, disowned side of your personality, and the good girl has one of the most powerful, most neglected, and most volatile shadows of all. It is a cellar filled with a lifetime of unspoken no's, of tears that were never cried, of righteous rage that was never expressed, and of a wild, creative life force that has been chained and starved. Crucially, this powerful, unacknowledged shadow doesn't just stay quiet. It seeks the light of day through a mechanism Jung called projection. Unable to see these dark qualities in ourselves, we project them onto others. This is why you might feel an intense, irrational dislike for another woman who is assertive, who speaks her mind, who unapologetically takes up space.
You see her, and you feel a strange mix of admiration and contempt. You call her aggressive or too much, because you were taught to call your own power by those same names. You judge her not because of who she is, but because she is a living reminder of the woman you are too afraid to become.
This projection also dramatically affects our romantic lives. The good girl, having disowned her own inner masculine energy, her animus of power, direction, and assertiveness, is unconsciously drawn to partners who embody these very traits, often in their most extreme, unbalanced forms.
And that's why you fall for him, the one with the unshakable confidence, the one who makes decisions without a second thought, the one who takes up space without apology. You fall for him because he is a walking, breathing version of the part of yourself you were forced to bury. You are not falling in love with a person. You are falling in love with your own missing half. And you reenact a painful drama trying to win the approval of your own lost power.
But what happens to all the parts of you that the good girl is not allowed to be? The healthy anger, the righteous indignation, the ambition, the selfish desires, the raw, untamed power. Carl Jung gives us a chillingly accurate answer. They are not destroyed. They are repressed. They are pushed down into the dark, fertile soil of the unconscious and form what he called the shadow. The shadow is the hidden, disowned side of your personality, and the good girl has one of the most powerful, most neglected, and most volatile shadows of all. It is a cellar filled with a lifetime of unspoken no's, of tears that were never cried, of righteous rage that was never expressed, and of a wild, creative life force that has been chained and starved.
And inside, a part of you screams. In the quiet of the night, it screams. It screams against the injustices you politely smiled at. It resents giving so much of yourself and receiving so little in return. It rages at the beautiful, gilded cage you call a life. A part you have learned to call the bitch, or the hysteric, or the selfish one. But it is, in fact, your own life force, your sacred instinct for survival fighting to be heard. It is the part of you that holds your power.
This unacknowledged shadow doesn't just stay quiet. It leaks. It seeps out sideways. It manifests as passive-aggressive comments, as sudden, inexplicable bouts of depression or anxiety, as chronic fatigue or mysterious physical ailments. It projects itself onto others, making you judge women who are assertive and powerful. The inner conflict between the perfect persona you show the world and the raging shadow you hide from yourself is the source of so much of our modern malaise. It is a war being waged in the battlefield of your soul. So how do we break the curse? How do we begin to dismantle this cage? The answer in the Jungian path is always counterintuitive. It is not to kill the good girl or to fight the shadow. To fight a part of yourself is to remain at war forever. The answer is always integration. The healing doesn't start with changing your behavior. It starts with changing your attention. It starts with courage. The courage to turn around and face what you've been running from. The first step is not to act, but to witness. To create a small sacred space within yourself to simply listen. To turn inward and give yourself permission, perhaps for the first time, to feel what the good girl was never allowed to feel. To acknowledge the anger without judgment, to honor the exhaustion without shame, to meet your own resentment with compassion.
Imagine yourself sitting by a quiet stream, and you invite her, your shadow, to sit with you. You don't ask her to change. You don't tell her she is wrong. You simply say, "I see you. I hear you. Tell me your story. What do you need? What have you been trying to tell me all these years?
This is the work of what Jung called active imagination. It is a conscious dialogue with the unconscious parts of ourselves. By giving your shadow a voice, you begin to rob it of its destructive power. It no longer needs to scream to be heard. You are starting to build a bridge between the light and the dark, the persona and the shadow. This is the beginning of wholeness.
So today, just for a moment, listen to her. Listen to the wild woman, the angry woman, the tired woman, the selfish woman inside of you. Give her a seat at the table of your consciousness. She does not want to destroy you. She wants to complete you. She holds the boundaries you so desperately need. She holds the passion you crave. She holds the fierce, unapologetic truth you've silenced. She is not your enemy. She is your liberation. And she has been waiting for you for a very, very long time.
If this message resonated with you, let us know in the comments. The simple act of sharing "I am listening to my shadow" can be a powerful first step in this sacred work. For more journeys into the soul, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. The path of healing is long, but you don't have to walk it alone. Thank you for being here.